Cover me while I run. Cover me through the fire. Something knocked me out the trees. Now I'm on my knees. Cover me, darling, please. I had to write some notes down today. This is insane and should be very eye-opening to a lot of you that if you're not keeping your eyes open. I'm singing Peter Gabriel, Shock the Monkey, because monkeys, they run them in trucks throughout Kentucky, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, all kinds of places around here. And those monkeys happen to get out. And Highway Patrol happens to pop a few of them and get rid of them and catch what they can. Most get put down, and they don't tell you right away when they come from some sort of university or bio lab. And I'm going to get to that. These things are getting out of hand. They're getting really out of hand. And the reason why I want to bring up the thing with the monkeys is there's the part of this is very important, and you need to know about the difference in these things. Now, you have biosafety level 4 labs. Now, those are usually typical. I had to write this stuff down. There's so much of it to explain. See, formerly, when I was in the Marines, I did Happy Veterans Day for those of you out there that's, anyway, yeah. But I was in the military, so respiratory protection therapy was one of the things where, I did your RPPM managers. You had to be a manager for running a program. You had to go to a OSHA approved college course to do those things and to be able to test fit respirators. Now it goes with that stuff, all your MOP levels and things for any type of NBC event. You had to know how to do all this stuff, right? Well, it's always been one of those things, like I've always been concerned, like, what about Ebola? What about this? What about, all these different things that take place in these labs. And the biosafety level 4 labs, that's BSL4, and they're not all named that. Like the one in Atlanta, so run by the CDC, isn't named that. The one in Boston by the CDC isn't named that. And my wife, Sippy, she's an ER trauma nurse, lots of experience, tons of experience, even drove an ambulance at one point in her life. But she had a good point that she wanted to make about, she was telling me about, there was a CDC lab technician back in 2016 that was found. Where was he found again? The Atlanta River. He was found in the Atlanta River because he was going to spill the beans. He had some information on a flu vaccine. Now, that was back during 2016. He had some kind of information he needed to share with folks about that. That was in Atlanta. That's also near the facility that is the BSL4 lab there in Atlanta. What did he have to share? Wow. But I have a lot on here. So we got 34 countries they're building right now over 110 BSL4 laboratories. Out of these, we've got, I want to tell you how many there are total in a few minutes. You're going to freak out when you hear that number. Now, the purpose of like the BSL4, I want to explain what each one of them do, because there are BSL3 laboratories in like 90% of countries. And out of every one of them, they're supposed to be regulated to meet those standards of those safety laboratory standards. They make the BSL4, they make bioweapons. They make weapons of war. Most of those, it's supposed to be for either good or for harm. And you're supposed to have some sort of vaccine or cure for whatever it is they're making. Sometimes they just run tests to see if they can get that they need, whichever one they need. Most of those laboratories that are being built are only for weaponization. That is it. Why? There's so many. It's crazy. And there was a huge uptick. There was a huge uptick in Russia. Russia had produced like, I can't remember how many they'd said they pumped out a whole bunch of them after 2024. It was like during the war, all this war activity going on, they had decided, but their stuff is not called BSL4 laboratories. They are called some Wiesenhosen type stuff that, Sputnik type language that is totally different than what we use over here. That also goes for China as well. This got brought to my attention when another subscriber had commented about China laboratories being built in the United States. And I just want that person to know that if there was a China laboratory being built in the United States, you'd think that somebody would have some sort of finger on it. But most of these laboratories that get built, these bio labs, they don't get the full microscopic view. They don't get the attention that most people think that they would get. We have over 47 point, I've got it written down here, the exact number. Where did I put that number at? Yeah, there it is. 47.1%, I want to make sure I said that right, in the United States. That's just the BSL-3 labs. And BSL, let's explain what BSL-3 labs are, just so you're aware of what they have there. That's like SARS, COVID, that's the CoV-2 COVID. And then you've got the stuff for treatments for that, for avian influenza, bird flu, for those of you that didn't know. But those are usually your BSL-3 laboratories. And we have that's 3,515 laboratories for that. That is insane. And most of these are misused, meaning that 90% of the countries that have these laboratories have zero oversight at all. And they just run these bad boys. They say, allegedly, they like to say they're for drug developments and things like that. But typically it's for harm and bioweapons. That's usually what it's used for. But see, I wanted to get back to the monkeys real quick, just for a second. Now, back in 2019, I don't know how many of you remember 2019, there was a lot going on because we were ramping up into that thing, that we all went through. And that started into the lockdowns and everything else. We got into 2020 and it was kind of a blur. I know a lot of you probably remember what I'm talking about. But if you were watching the news back in 2019, some monkeys escaped on a highway. 2019. What happened recently? Some monkeys escaped on a highway. Just saying. 2019 was kind of weird. And it got weird after those monkeys got out. Didn't they? Anyway. So now we're here and we have monkeys again. And I don't even know if they recovered all those monkeys. I know a lot of them got shot. But they said there was no infection, and that's what they said last time. Oh, they're non-infectious, blah, blah. Sure they are, buddy. We'll take your advice. Now, let's see. But the monkeys, I wanted to make sure. Yep, that's right. Okay, so there's even more of these labs. The BSL-4 labs are being under construction right now, and they're not completed. And they have no oversight on those as well. That was the other thing I needed to share with you before I moved on, because you need to hear this one. This one's crazy. This one's a freaking psychobilly, and you better share this because people need to know about it. The BSL-4 labs. All right, so that's Ebola, and you have Marburg's viruses. Now, no vaccine, no treatment. They don't work on vaccines or treatments for any of this stuff. That is the BSL-4 labs. Why do they call it Marburg's virus? What is that? That goes back to 1967 Germany. That's the green monkey virus. Green monkey virus. Oh yeah, the green monkey virus. You need to hear the rest of this, so don't go anywhere. The Marburg's virus, that's Marburg's Germany. Because of the outbreak from there, they were transferring monkeys from Africa for their little experiments. If you look in your microbiology book to page 666, you will find the green monkey virus, which is the Marburg's virus. That is it causes hemorrhaging. Basically, you bleed from the eyeballs, you'll bleed from the nose, your body will hemorrhage. And that was commonly used in one of the most very popular movies, the Outbreak movies, where they had to catch the monkey. If you guys remember that, if you go back and watch that movie, that's pretty much what that's about. But that is what they work on in the BSL-4 laboratories. And they're building 110 or so we have popping up in 34 countries. And that just happened a few months ago. I think in May, they started kicking this party off because World War III. They need better ways for you to die, just like me. They want us all to croak one way or another. Why? Because war. Clear out the population, thin out the herd. You know how it goes. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to keep you awake. You need to pay attention. You need to know what's going on. And if you want to know how can you defend yourself in situations like that. Now, one thing that I always do, I know I'm running past my time here. I usually cut it off early, but one of the things that I do is I try to carry things with me wherever I go. I do carry a chemical mask and things like that nearby that I can get to, but I don't have one for everyone. You know what I mean? That's the problem with stuff like this, is being prepared for things like that. You just never know what's going to happen. And you really just cannot be prepared for stuff like that. You just need to pay attention and look at the signs and try to escape those environments when it gets ugly. And that's really all you can do, is just pay attention and see the signs. But you can read a lot of books on stuff like this, be able to try and get some kind of ideas, and then you'll have your head on a swivel when you're out in public, and your situational awareness will go up, and you'll feel so much more confident about your surroundings and not have to worry about these things. So it's not about paranoia and being scared all the time. It's just about being prepared. And that's really what this is all about, and trying to keep you informed. I'm not lying to you. You can go back and read all this stuff. You can Google it if you need to. But anyways, please share, guys. God bless. Take care. Stay safe.